one. Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are also available on Anchor. And today I'm joined by another one of our legend series from the League of Ireland. And today we have on no other than Richie Baker. Richie, how you doing, my man?
How's things, bud?
Brilliant. Great to have you on. This is going to be great. I really enjoy these throwback League of Ireland episodes. Where do we begin? You know, like 5 leagues, an FAI Cup, and then, you know, numerous accolades with Rosemount Mulvey as well. An interesting trip, of course, moved over to New England as well. But let's start right from the beginning. Let's get into the youths in Stella Maris, where it kind of all began.
Yeah. I literally left Mark Celtic at under 12s and went to Stella Maris. A fella called Tom Marr was the man that brought us over, and we used to call him Yamza. He's a good lad. Now, in fairness, we had a super team at Mark Celtic at the time, and but we were always in the lower leagues compared to the Cherry Orchards and the home farms and everything else. We'd always meet them in the cups and the semi-finals or a final. We had a really strong team, and we'd meet them there. So it just got to a stage where Desi had moved on as well at a certain age and went to Stella, and I kind of nearly followed in his footsteps by going across there when I was asked. And I nearly got the blame for ruining the Mark Celtic team, being honest with you. The rumour started floating about that me man and dad were after getting washing machines and all given to them because I left. But yeah, that's where it all started. Went over there and had a good few years there, and we went up to the Mill Cup a couple of times, and it was a fantastic club. Now, in fairness, now the travelling was tough enough at that age as well. It was I was going across on 2 buses over there and 2 buses back, and then on the weekends they pick you up for the games. You know what I mean? But I suppose back then you were doing everything you could just to make it in football. So and you're determined. So yeah, it was a bus from Talla into town, and then out from town out to Albert College or Richmond Road, and I was lucky enough. Now another fella from Talla had joined as well, so the two of us made the journey. John Paul and myself made the journey. So yeah, it started there, and then we won a good few things there. We had a really good squad, and then when we got to under 16s, then I was playing 2 years ahead of myself. Then I was asked to go up to the 18s and then on to the 19s at the time, and yeah, it flitted out. Then I had a few trials here and there, and I was meant to go over to Leeds with Stephen McPhail at the time, and I got a blood clot in my leg, and I was out for nearly 6 months. So that stopped that from happening. So that was disappointing. And then again, going up to I think it was the second or the third Mill Cup, I had got 7 stitches in my knee just a week before we were meant to go. So that stopped the touring as well. So that kind of hindered me probably getting seen as well up in the Mill Cup again a few times and playing against the big clubs. And at that stage, I probably think to yourself, oh, jeez, I think I'm not going to make it now, you know. It's all I wanted to do was follow Desi in his footsteps, kind of, you know what I mean? He's had to going over to United at a young age after his junior cert. And it was always something that I just wanted to do was play football and try and make it in the game. And then when I flitted out then, I ended up going to, from Stella Maris to Fosting or set up by Shelbourne. Mick Neville came along, and he took a 3 or 4 of us from the Talla area. Myself, John Hannon, Darren McDonough, and there was another fella there that came a few times, and another one of my good mates, Keith O'Brien. So the 4 of us actually joined the Shelbourne Foss course at the time, and that's it. It was literally only on the Foss course a number of weeks, and my first game was a friendly against Shamrock Rovers in '98, and I remember playing my first game, and I had a really good game. And I remember Cheryl put me in and goal, and I scored a goal on my debut and all. And no, it was fantastic. It was a fantastic start. And after that game is when I got brought in to sign my first contract. Then
Yeah, I mean, a shout out to Stella Maris. The amount of players they have produced over the years into the League of Ireland and across the water has been incredible, really. I mean, it's a who's who of Irish football in terms of names when you think about it. In terms of just going back to the youth again, did you always want to be a professional footballer? There was no other career for you, or had you thought of anything else? It was always football.
Always football, yeah. It was always football. It was very good at the Gaelic as well. We played in the schools, we had really good teams, and I remember manager from St. Anne's used to always come up then and try and get us to play on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday when they had games. And the same again, me, John Hannon, would have been the two of the main players that we played soccer for the school as well, and we're out with Stella Maris. And we were decent at the GA as well, in fairness. And they used to knock up to the door to try and beg us to go up and play with them. Like, and we did that. Like, and there was a chance of playing for the Dublin Miners and all, but that was soccer was always number one. Like, it was the Gaelic was just a bit on the side to keep yourself fit and strong, I suppose.
Yeah, and the professional contract move to Shelbourne, that came about through the FOSS course that they had set up and stuff like that straight in.
Yeah,
and what was that like? Was it like an apprenticeship type thing, or?
Yeah, it was kind of a newly thing that was done up. Mick Neville had come on board with it, with FOSS, and they set it up in the sports link out beside the airport there, and so it was put together. It was a year course, and again he put together a fantastic team. Like, the squad that we had there was unbelievable, and we played in a league and all in it, and we won everything in it. The team that we had was frightening, and as I said, it was only a number of weeks that I was there, and I got the chance to play for the first team, and then after that it was kind of great, because when I went in to sign my contract, it was Mick Neville actually came in the room. It was the old house down in Talca Park, and Ollie Bourne was there, and we went in, and he's like, "Listen, we want to sign you." And Mick Neville was staying behind me. It wasn't even my dad at the time. It was Mick Neville that was there in the room. And he's like, "Yeah." And all I wanted to do was obviously sign for the club and be a professional footballer. And it was semi-pro at that stage. And because I remember we used to get, I think it was 190 pound off the FOSS. And I remember Ollie sitting there and going, "Listen, we're gonna give you another £70, and so you're gonna be getting the 190 from the FOSS. That's a Shelbourne FOSS cost now, but FOSS were paying it, but he was putting it across that. He was coming out with his pocket. So you'd be coming out there now with £240, and I was like, I said, "Listen, yeah, fantastic." Like, and I signed the contract for the year, and within months I had another contract signed. And then at the end of that year, then I won Young Player of the Year, and the contract was ripped up again, and I got another 3-year contract now. So it was 3 times a change in the 1 year.
And rightly so. And rightly so.
Yeah, it was. I really had a good year now. The first year was fantastic. I remember at the end of the first year, in Ballymun, we were training out there, and we went into the dressing rooms at the end, and Ollie Bourne came over with Dermot into an old cold dressing room, and he brought us in, and he says, "Listen, Bristol Rovers Bristol City are after being in. They put an offer in for you, 100,000. I said, "We're not taking it." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "That's great." I said, "Listen, you had a fantastic year. What you did this year was unbelievable. Then winning the Young Player of the Year is fantastic. Now, you probably won't have another year like that again. You know, that was a brilliant year." And all. I said, "Sure, we'll see." So, so I remember that nothing went ahead with the Bristol City thing, and I was happy enough. We had a great team at the club, and we were doing really well. And we stayed, and we won the league again. And then I was lucky enough to win Young Player of the Year again. And I remember calling Darren McKeely and Ollie in. I goes, "Just go back to last year." I said, remember sitting down saying that this wouldn't happen again. I said, "There you go." So it was good to throw that back in our face.
Yeah, it must have lit a right fire under you, I'd say. Did it, even hearing it beforehand and then going, "I'll show these lads."
Exactly.
Brilliant.
That's what I was just buzzing just to go back in and say, just remember that conversation we had the last year there. You said it probably wouldn't happen again. But I was lucky enough it did happen again.
There's probably one thing I want to touch on. Tell me the story about the Peugeot 106.
The Peugeot 106, my God, that was my first car, and the song "I'm Blue," that it was a blue Peugeot. I had tinted windows, the whole lot, all done up to pieces, and my God, I used to drive around. I had a horn on it that went fucking crazy. It was like you'd hear me completely 20 blocks away, for God's sake. And then after that 106, I literally moved on to a 206 and done the same crap to it as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely. What about the how was the competitive nature with Desi? Was there a competitive nature there, or?
Unbelievable. Growing up as kids in the house, when we were in the house, we went through back windows playing football in the house, going through back door. Remember going through. We used to always have to win, and we'd have a game across the road, his gate against our gates across the road, and the competition between the two was frightening. I used to follow him everywhere, and he hated it. But all his mates were buzzing because we had another player, and I was good enough to play with him, you know.
Yeah.
But he used to fucking try and chase me away and get out of here and kick up the hole, and I'd be following them for like 5-10 minutes, going wherever they were going, just to see if they had a game going. We jump in, and he always, as a big brother, get away. But all the other lads were like, "No, leave him. We want him now."
Yeah.
So it was always there. The competitive side was always there, and as I said, when he got the move, it was just pushed me on that I just wanted to do the same, you know. But it was always that our family has always been like that. My ma played ball, my dad was really good back in the day as well. So I think it was just we just brought it down, and then my two brothers, I don't know what happened there. The postman must have came in for them too, because they didn't really get into the football at all. Like.
Probably scared of Desi's chasing them away as well, probably, or something. Yeah, absolutely. So what's kind of the memories of the first stint of Shelbourne and the four leagues and the FAI Cup, and the players, the Gagan boys were there. I remember Stephen and Declan and all, and Pat Fenlon, and of course your brother Desi and stuff like that and all. And James was there, I think, for one of the seasons as well. And James is an awful trick. So I know James even from school times. He's the quiet assassin, really, you know.
Greg Costello, a whole lot. As I said, I came in 98. I remember joining the team on our first pre-season. Obviously, wanted to impress the whole lot and in the runs. I remember being in the group, the first group, and Gago was in it. Stephen Gago was in my group. Obviously, Stephen was there. Coming to his older ages then, so we were in the group and we were doing the long distance running, and I ended up lapping him. Now the lap that we had was a big lap, you know what I mean? And I remember lapping him, and I remember at the end of it, then he came over and he put his arm around and says, "If you ever fucking do that and make a show me like that again, I'll knock that bollocks out of you." And I was looking at him, and I didn't know Gago was off his head messer, you know. But I was going, "Oh, bollocks, like." Oh, shit. And then he was like, "I'm only pulling that bleeding leg." But the Gagans him and Declan were so funny. It was unbelievable. Like, they were the boys on the bus that were always going to mess about. Desi, Dean Fitzgerald, Greg Costello, they're the boys that sit at the back, you know. And the boys sit at the back always are the bleeding messes. And Pat Fallon would be in there, really good friends with the Gagans as well. And Pat on his day was real professional, but he had his laugh and he had his giggle and everything else as well. But obviously, Dermot, like I remember when being on that bus 18 and we were coming home from games, and lads would be, I never touched a drink in my life, but the lads be drinking cans on the way home, playing poker. And then the TV be going on, and there was pornos on the TV, like there was pornos going on the TV, and you're like, going, what is this? Like, oh, this is unbelievable. Like 17, 18 years of age going onto a bus, and I was like, what's going on here? Like playing poker. The lads are pissed at the end of it, and there's bleeding porn and graphic movies going on the bleeding TVs. Like, I was like, it's fucking crazy, like. But that was just the way it was when we first came into the league. But the change within a year and a half to 2 years was scary. Like, it's just that all just went out the door, and everything just became more professional. Like,
is that kind of when Pat had taken over?
But Dermot was still there. Dermot was still there involved. I think Pat came in 2003. I think it was around that. And fairness, Dermot was a loony bin. Dermot was an absolute loony bin, and Dermot loved players that just want to win and break people up and break the play up. And I always wanted a hard man in there. You know, as I said, me and Dermot got on absolutely fantastic, where Desi and Dermot bleeding hated each other. So it was uncomfortable sometimes being in a dressing room, you know, because there was times where something went wrong in the game, or Desi made a mistake, or he'd be screaming and shouting at him, or there was times where Dermot went for Desi and Desi went for Dermot. There was times where Nutty went for Pat Fenlon went for. There was more than naked in the dress in the shower, jumping out of the shower and wanting to fucking kill each other, like in the old dressing rooms in the house. But as I said, around 2000, everything started changing, and we start going to games, staying in hotels, proper food was put on. Everything was changing, and then it just got as the years went on, and when Pat came in, it just got better and better and more professional. And we used to go away all the time for pre-season, France, Spain, all over the place, and it was great and it was fantastic. And all the lads obviously wanted a day out, and even when Dan was in charge, Pat Fenlon was one of them that we deserve a night out, drink, piss, get together. And we had the rules going, listen, you can go out for 3 or 4 guys straight back home. That's it. And Pat Fenlon, Stephen Gagan, Desi, Greg Costello, Dean Fitzgerald, bang. As soon as he got back to the room, they were out the window and they were going down to town, like, and they were out for the night, weren't coming back. And that was the way it was. But then when Pat came and took over and we went away in them trips, everything changed. Like he was the one that was leading everyone to get out and jump out and let's go. But he knew the story then, and he was like, no, this is a cut off line here, end of. And he took himself away from all them friends, the Gagans, the Stephen and all, and he had to, because he was the manager of the club now, and it was a big team to take over. And in fairness to him, he pushed all that to the side, and friendships were all out the door, and he done it professionally, like, and he took over the job well.
Yeah, I suppose when I talk to lads from the League of Ireland, there has to be a certain element of sort of craziness or madness in there to kind of be successful and to push on and to fight for each other and have that sort of bond with each other that you'd walk through a wall for each other to make sure you get a win, or, drive home that last minute goal to seal a draw to get you that point and stuff like that and all, so it's a team that comes through with a lot as well. The other team that comes through all the time when we have guys on is when we talk about their honours and stuff and what they won, they pass it off so humbly, like, because you probably had the same thing. When I spoke to Paul, he said that he didn't have time to dwell on the success of the team because it was always on to the next thing, and it's only afterwards when they looked back they realized, like, how big a success it was. But in the moment it was always like, when's the next match, when's the next cup game, the next whatever. They never had time to dwell, and that's what made them so successful. And you guys were the same at the time as well. It was just let's go, like,
yeah, it was fantastic that we had the squads that we had from 2008 when I came in to when I left in 2004. That mentality was always pushed at the club that, listen, yeah, you've done well, brilliant, we're moving on, that's gone, it's in the past, go again. And the competition for places was a huge thing as well, because the amount of the players that we had on the bench from 2000 to probably 2003, all the players on the bench would easily fit into any of the other teams, not a bother. Like, and we used to laugh about it. We nearly made 2 teams at Shelburne in dead days, and they probably would have been in the top 3, top 4, like the 2 of us, because the squads that were put together were scary, like. And then when you have that in a team where well, if I don't perform this week, such and such is going to come in and take the spot. When you have that behind you, well, I have to walk my bollocks off here, or I'm going to lose this. So as soon as you get that jersey, you have to keep it, and that was a good thing at Shells. Like, everyone had that winning mentality.
Brilliant. So 2004 rolls around and it's off to New England Revolution. How did that move to the MLS come about?
So it came about, I used to go out with a girl, and our dad used to play for Shelbourne and Rovers, Eric Barber, back in the day. And Eric would have had a big name in the League of Ireland, and done a lot. And I think he's still top goal scorer at certain clubs in the League of Ireland, the Shells, at Shamrock Rovers. I always said that once I won every trophy that I could, that I'd give it a go and move over, because our family moved over there. Two sisters and a brother lived there in Boston, and I said, listen, if we win all the trophies that you can win, well, then I'll give it a go. But I wanted to do that before I left. So I came to the decision then, obviously in 2004, then that I had won the majority of them with Santa Cups and FA Cups and League Cups and leagues, and I was privileged to be able to be on a team that I was on to win them trophies, and I decided to give it a go. And I remember going in to Ollie and saying, listen, Ollie, because they said, oh yeah, if you want to go, there's no problem, you can go, because there's a couple of months left in the contract, wherever it was. And I said, grand. So I went in. I remember going and sitting in my pat and said, listen, I've gone ahead. All right, grand, not a bother. And then all of a sudden, then Ollie was like, listen, he's not going. I'm not letting him go. I said, what do you mean? Well, he's not going unless we get some money for him. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here now? So anyway, went back in, had a conversation. And Pat said, listen, I'll talk to Ollie. And then it came up, listen, you can go, but if you come back to the country, that we have first choice. I said, Jesus, yeah. I said, 100%. I said, I wouldn't want to go anywhere else anyway. It's been here all my career. I said, everything's been great. So, yeah, there's no issue with that whatsoever. So that's how it came about then. And then I ended up went over to Boston, and I met up with Steve Nicol, who's the manager of the New England Revolution. I had sent over a few videos to him of playing in the league and European games and everything else. So he was impressed. He met up, and then he said, listen, we have to do this properly. You have to come in like in a draft kind of situation. We're going to have an open day out in New England. Just come in. We'll have a few games during the day. So after that, then the open day was done. Went in, signed the contract, and that was it. Then I started the new career over in America. Like,
how was the move culturally? I mean, obviously Boston has a huge Irish contingent over there, but was there a lot of Irish players playing in the MLS at the time? And
no, there wasn't. There wasn't at all. I came in. You're only allowed to have 3 foreign players on each team at the time. Like, so I was lucky enough to get a spot. Like, and at the time there was salary caps as well, and there was 2 allowed over €250,000. And I remember John Max Moore that was there on the team with us, and he was sound fella. He played for everything, and he was as sound as a pound, and got on great. And Steve Ralston, he was an American international, and these are all the older lads, and they were so good, so nice, introducing them, brought into the club, and then you had the mentality of the younger players that were at the club. And they were the ones that kind of ran the place. There was one lad there that he was the poster boy, and his picture was up all over the Gillette Stadium and for the soccer side of things. And he thought he was the bee's knees, but he made life difficult for everyone else at the club, and especially new people that were coming in. And he was at the saying that I was talking to him, and he was saying that he played in the World Cup, in the Under-20 World Cup that was over there as well in Nigeria. But he just wanted to put people down all the time, and he had his little gang of 5 or 6 that was in the gang, and they were all the ones that would pick on the new people. And Clint Dempsey came in about 3 months after I joined, and me and Clint got on great. We were the new kids in the block, and we stayed together. And I used to pick him up from the house that he was staying in, and bring him to train and bring him home, and we had a great bond. Like, but one day it was getting too much as well for him, and he just stuck up for himself in training. And one of the lads was just trying to go in rough and the usual stuff and messing about with him, but he stood up, and they had the fisticuffs, and he put it back to them, and fair play to him. He just changed it. He changed it for himself, and he changed it for a few of us as well. Like, they said, listen, you can't be just picking on the lad, you know what I mean? And what a player he was. He came in, and left foot, right foot. He could play up front. He could play in the hole. He could play the 10 role. He could play in the wing. He was just natural. When he came in, you could see it. Like, and it was unbelievable to see. And he always said, Richie, I'm only here for a bit. He says, I want to play in Europe. Like, and that's the way he used to say, I want to play in Europe. It's not like he really wanted to go to England, but he just say Europe. It's just an American thing. Like, yeah. And I said, listen, Clint, I said, you have every chance of getting away. Like, and literally, he had a year there, and he was gone. Like, he was unbelievable. Like, they're the kind of players, as I said, the senior players, John Max Moore, Steve Ralston. Steve Ralston used to take us out on his boat doing the fishing, me and Clint. And the experience there was unbelievable. Pitches, the stadiums we were playing in was scary. There was like 50, 60, 70, 80,000 seaters. We were getting about 30,000 at the games. Some of the games we were going on after international friendlies, and we'd have 90,000 in front of us. Like, and it was a great experience. Again, another step up a level. At the stadiums, you'd have your doctors there, you'd have your x-ray machines there, everything was there, you know what I mean, that we were using. It was all up another level. You had all your strength and conditioning people there. There's 2 or 3 of everything, you know what I mean. It wasn't just one. Your food was there in the morning, lunch, whatever you needed was there. And it was a different level. But the standard was good. The league was only gone so long. It wasn't that long gone. They were still building it up. And I always said, we had the Shelbourne team that we had in the 2001, 2002, 3. We would have been easily up there with the standard of the MLS at the time, like, you know what I mean? So a year, being honest with you, I had a year there. It was a great experience. I enjoyed it. Met some really good people. It was great living in Boston for a year and seeing it. But a year was enough for me. During the circumstances with the other lads just taking the mickey all the time. Like, Steve Howie came in. I used to play for Newcastle. And I used to pick Steve Howie up at his hotel. He wasn't driving. I used to pick him up and bring him to train. And sound fella. And again, this same fella was at training and going to Steve Howie at the end of his first session and going, listen, you want to go back there and pick up the cones and get the goals there, bud. And like Steve Howie's 35, 36 at this stage. And he turned around and started breaking his bollocks laughing. Like, who do you think you're talking to? Like, and pulled over Steve Nicholl and goes, like, who the fuck is this lad? Like, you want to sort them out, like. So, but it was just a couple of lads that kind of made it difficult when it shouldn't have been difficult. But a lot of good lads that made it a good experience as well.
Yeah, strange one that Steve Nicholl will tolerate that kind of thing as well, because he's a hardy enough chap himself, like, you know. That must have been amazing. Like, I mean, obviously being in Boston, what a sporting city, and especially for an Irish sports lad over there. But to be walking out on like 50, 60, 70,000 watching you play, like, that must have been incredible. Like, just
it was absolutely fantastic. And again, staying behind at the end and doing your autographs, and it was great. It's great to be involved in, as I said, and cheering your name on. Like, I had some really good games over there, and again, there was I think there was politics in the background, being honest with you, because you'd hear some games I wouldn't be even starting, and the week before I was at having an unbelievable game. And you're like, oh my god, like, and then the next week you're on the bench, and you can even hear the crowd at some stage, and you're like, what's going on? Bring Baker on and all this. Like, it was great to hear. Like, and again, with it being so many Irish people around Boston and linked to it, that it was great that they loved the Irish as well. So it was great that I was there. But no, I felt the love from the fans, and as I said, most of the teammates were great. It's just that the handful that made it difficult sometimes. Like,
yeah, we had Aaron Malloy's son on. He was playing with the Timbers over there last season. I think he got a move this year to Milwaukee or something. But he described it saying it's like the fans are so raucous as well, typical American fans as well, and the Irish element in there. He says it's like being at a rock concert. He says they're crazier nearly than the players. Like, you know, it's mad. Like, but then 2005 to 2006, you honoured the agreement back to Shelbourne. How was that?
Agreement back? Yeah, it came back, and again, I was delighted to sign. Obviously, I wouldn't have wanted one to go anywhere else at the time. Came back in, signed again. It's great to be back again. An unbelievable squad. And that was the year where things started to get Brexit or whatever it came in, and the money situation started hitting the clubs, and we ended up playing a good 3-4 months at the end of that season with not getting paid. And that shows, again, as I said to you before, the winning mentality that was in at the club and that was poured into our heads from the managers and coaches and everyone that was helping out in the background showed that year, because, again, we weren't getting paid for a couple of months, and we still went on to win the league that year. Like, and that just showed, as I said, the lads wanted to win. They wanted to be together. We stayed together that year. There was talk about not playing this match or not playing that match because we weren't getting paid, but we ended up going, and we were in a chance to win a league that we all wanted to still go and win it. Like,
it's amazing when you look at some of the cycles in the league over the years, where you have teams that come through and they go through a cycle of going on, you know, a winning streak of leagues and cups and stuff like that, and then at the end of it, they all seem to fall into financial meltdown. Whereas you would think that the success would bring more financial stability in terms of, you know, gaining those rewards. And it happens with so many clubs. Like, we say it with Rovers, we've seen it with Pats, obviously seen it with Shells. It seems to be a common trait in the league that you go on a run in a cycle of so much success, and then there's a financial meltdown. And of course, it breaks up such a unique situation where you have so many talented players that have to move on.
Yes, that's what happened. That's what happened that year, in fairness. And again, everyone did move on at the end, and everyone moved on to decent clubs. I was lucky enough to move up to Drogheda. And again, Paul Dillon had put something great together up there. Paul was an absolute fantastic coach. Absolute fantastic coach. I'd say probably the best coach that I played under. And managers, you'd be going back to Pat and Dermot that I played under. Paul was just a coach. His coaching side was unbelievable. His management side wasn't great, like, because his man management wasn't brilliant, and he had certain fights with certain people, and it didn't really help situations then when you're going into games, you know, because people, when you're fighting with people, they don't want to play for people, you know what I mean? When you get so much grief, or someone's at you all the time, why do you want to play for someone, you know what I mean? So that's where your man management has to come into play, and you have to be able to react to different players and how they react to you shouting or screaming, or if they need an arm around you. But as I said, a lot of players moved on from winning that league into good clubs. And again, I was lucky enough to go up to Drogheda, and we ended up winning the league then up there, which was another fantastic year. Another great team to play with again. But again, it blew up at the end of that year. Then everything blew up because people were pumping money into Drogheda at the stage, and they thought they were getting grounds here, there, and then we're building here, there, and everyone, and then that fell under, and then it went into the same situation that we were fighting to try and get paid again, and we went another couple of months not getting paid up there as well. So it was just folding on from one club to the other, and everyone was getting hit by the same problems, like.
Yeah, absolutely. 2009, back to Shells again.
Back to Shells, yeah. I got a phone call from Dermot. Dermot asked me to go back in. And again, I was only delighted, being honest with you. The club, obviously, that would be hard for the rest of my life. It's going to be Shelbourne. I have 2 jerseys hanging up in my wall at home, and it's the Ireland jersey and my Shelbourne jersey. And obviously done a lot for me in my playing career and bring me into the League of Ireland. So no problem going back. Went back, give it a go. Had a good chat with Dermot. Joe Casey as well was looking after the club at the time. I got on really well with Joe. He took over after I get passed away and took the reins on, which was a very difficult job to take on because there was kind of a mess left behind at Shelbourne, and Joe and the committee had to mop it all up and try and sort it all out again. So again, we trying to go back in to bring them back up to the Premier. Obviously didn't work out that year. We had a lot of injury problems as well, with myself and other players at the club, and we were unlucky not to come out of it that year. And again, it was as I said, it was great to be back there. And then Dermot left then again, so decided then that was it. Then I actually finished off with Bray, and I had a back operation then when I was at Bray, and my back was in bits for a couple of months when I was there. So that kind of nearly finished me off then out there.
Yeah, interesting. My neighbours, Bray Wanderers, out there at the seaside. How was the transition then? I mean, when you stopped playing, obviously you had desires to go into coaching. How was the transition from playing to coaching?
It was always something in my head that I said to myself that I'd never want to go back into the League of Ireland and coach. Because of all the stuff that had happened, all the bad stuff that had happened probably from 2006 onwards, and the stuff that was going on with the FEI and people that were in charge out there and they weren't helping out, and like there's times we were in the rooms in there, and Delaney was there with Drogheda in the room, and he's saying, listen, take what you're given. And I think at the stage, Drogheda were offering 12% of our wages that we were owed. And I remember sitting in Drogheda one side, 4 or 5 players with the PFEI, Steve McGuinness on the other side, and then you had Delaney on the top table, like in between the two of us. And like just hearing from him, listen, we can't really help out one club. We can't be seen to be given because everyone will want it, and then the junior section will want this and want that. So we can't be given. It says, is 12% not better than not getting that? And I was at the stage, I was at going through it with Shells, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And we got every single penny back off Shells. Every single penny that we were owed, we got back off Shells. Everyone got that money. And we had to obviously wait months for it, but we did get it back, and they honoured it. And then when they get to Drogheda then, and then we were sitting in the room, and they're like, and hearing that from him, and we can't help, and then us 4 in the room said no. A good few of the lads agreed with the 12%, and there was a few of us that didn't. And because we didn't know what the punishment was going to be for Drogheda. We weren't being told exactly what's going to happen or what way it was going to work. So anyway, it ended up coming down. I think the few lads got together and they had mortgages and kids and family. So I think we ended up getting up to 20 or 22% or whatever it was, and we agreed on it. And then it just came out then, like it was literally 6-7 weeks later, they started signing players for the season ahead going again. Like, and you're like, I said, like, what? Like, what just had to happen here? There was no punishment. They were allowed to stay in the Premier Division. And they're allowed to go and sign more players and start handing out money that they couldn't give out a couple of weeks before that they owed out already.
To lads that were honourable and did their part, like,
and trained and played and done all their thing. And that was really a kick in the face, being honest with you. And ever since that, I always said, geez, I wouldn't want to get myself in a position where I was a coach or a manager that I had to turn around to my players and say, listen, we can't pay it, or we can't do this, or we can't do that. And the FAI are not supporting anything or this, that, and the other. So I ended up coming over and going, I really didn't want to go down the route of going back into the League of Ireland. So I ended up, the PFAI, Steve McGuinness gave me a ring actually. And a fella had been on to him that wanted to get someone out and coach out in Granada. So Carl Markey's name was, he rang me. And he rang me up, had a chat, and he said, listen, I'd like to come down. And I said, yeah. I said, that's great. I said, so went down, spent 2.5-3 years at Granada, and started doing all the coaching and stuff there. And I started enjoying it, you know what I mean? I started really enjoying it. I had a great bunch of lads that were listening, that wanted to be there, wanted to do the things that you were trying to teach them, wanted to do the sessions, were turning up. It wasn't 5 here or 6 or 7 here coming. We were getting big numbers, like, and it was great. So that's where I started off with the coaching side of things. And again, Carl, we moved around. Then we had down in Templeogue. We were down. There was 2 or 3 other things that I just followed Carl with him, because he in fairness to him, he had been with me since the day one, and I stayed with him. And so that had led us to where we are now. Like, so we're obviously with Rosemount Mulvey now, and it's the club that I'm with now is unbelievable.
Yeah, it must be mad to look back at those negotiating times over the wages and stuff like that. Hindsight now and what you know now must be even a sickener, without us getting into any detail about what's been transpiring over the last 3 or 4 years. Like, it's just crazy, isn't it?
No, it's mad. And like when you see the league now and you see where Dundalk are and what they've done over the last 2 or 3 years, and this is where I was actually talking to a fella today, a Pat's fan Larkin. I was talking to him today in the car, and as you said, it's a winning mentality that you need in players. And if you don't have that and you don't want that anymore, and you haven't got it in anymore, and you think that you've done enough, that's where things start falling apart. And I just think at the moment, in the Dundalk situation, is that they had a really good squad over the last number of years. It's kind of broken up a little bit, and the new people coming in, new people bring different people in, and things have changed down there. And then people that are coming in just look at me that they just don't have it in them at the moment. They don't want that, and they haven't got that winning mentality. And there's probably lads there just there for the money, and that's where it starts bringing down all the other lads in the squad. There, you'd have a handful that just there for the money, don't really give a shy, and then they're bringing down the rest of the lads that do have that winning mentality.
Yeah. So as always, when we bring you guys on, we always ask people to send us in a few questions. So these should be interesting. I don't give you a heads up on these or anything. The first one is always a good one, and it's a difficult one for you because of the connection with the brother and all. But I know you played with so many great players in the league and stuff like that. But favorite player you played with?
I'd probably give it to Wezzo. Joseph Mendel would have been very close to him, but Wezzo was unbelievable. Wezzo was frightening talent.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, really, isn't it? That I mean, his treatment even really was just shocking, really, isn't it? When you think about it, like, such a talent, like.
Should have been well called into the Irish team before he did, and even being left on the bench so many times that he had been, and what he could do on a pitch and change a game, going forward especially was scary. Yeah. But in training, that man was absolutely unbelievable, and what he could do. Yeah. Where you think of having him in a corner, the fella would be out in a second, and you're like, how did he do that? Like, he was so scary. Like,
Yeah, I just say to people, as fans, we only seen snippets of him, really, which is a shame, because he was outstanding. Toughest player you played against?
Toughest player. Jesus.
And the childhood games against the brother now don't count.
I had so many of them because there's so many people that just wanted to break me up when I was going by them. They used to hate when I just passed the ball by them and just use me pace and there's so many of them that I just remember going back and when you think about it, even when you're talking about Ozo on the show there, well, even when you're going by Ozo bleeding didn't like you going by and he'd snap your legs when you're going by because he wouldn't have the pace of bleeding keep up with you. He'd make sure he put an elbow in or a foot in to make sure you stopped. So, but I couldn't even, being honest with you, I couldn't even pick one because there's so many of them that wanted to break me up. It was scary. Like Greg O'Hanlon down in Cork City, we get on great and we played together in the Irish teams now, but when we went against each other, he didn't give a shite. He was going in 2 foots and tackles at me, and we had head-to-heads coming up all the time and all. But again, after the game, then when we met with the Irish team, we were great. It was off. It was gone.
It's the competitive nature of the game, I suppose. Yeah, but there'll be no room for VAR in the Irish League, that's for sure. Favorite goal?
A favorite goal, I'd probably go over in Europe. It was the free kick over in Macedonia, I think it was. We were playing against, and that was a real memorable game for me. It was the first time an Irish club had win in so many years away from Ireland, and we won 1-0. And I took that free kick. I remember standing over it and saying. I was saying there, I'm going for a goal, and I was like, no, put it in the box. I said, no, I'm going near post here, and I went near post, and I went in. It was the enjoyment of that was unbelievable. It was a brilliant feeling. Then after the game winning, it was just special.
Excellent. Last one, and I always ask all the guests this: if you could have dinner one evening with anyone, past or present, alive or deceased, doesn't have to be football related, who would it be? Now, I'll preface this. Paul turned around and says his missus, because he said if he didn't name his missus, he was asked before, and he mentioned Madonna, and he got into fierce trouble.
It was back in the day when I was young, growing up, Maradona was the one I'd look up to. You know what I mean? Maradona was the main man, and what he could do with a ball was absolutely scary. And even trying to do some of the stuff out in the garden or the practice and that, and no matter how much you practice, you just couldn't do what he done. And he was the one that just said, listen, he was a small player. I looked at him and said, I was only 5'7" myself, and someone will say, you're a liar, you're only about 5'6" if even. But I always measured in at 5'7". But I was lucky enough that I could actually jump. I was decent in the air. But now Maradona would have been definitely the one. He's a small player. Again, we're going back to going up north to the Milk Cup. I remember at one stage saying, listen, probably I won't be able to play today because these are big lads and you're only small. And I remember that being said to me once. I'm like, what the hell was that all about? But people that can prove other people wrong, and I was lucky enough that I could do that myself. And I presume when everyone looked at Maradona, they probably said, listen, I push this fella off the ball, or I can get this fella, but no one could touch the fella. And that's because he had the desire to win and be the best, and he was.
Unbelievable player. And that'd be a hell of a night out, I'd imagine, as well.
Yeah.
that would go way beyond dinner, I'd imagine.
I'd definitely be having dip dabs, and anyway, that's all the only white powder that'd be around me. That's a fact.
He'd be asking you which nightclub in town has a throne that I can sit on as the king, Absolutely brilliant. Well, listen, as always, pleasure coming on. Thanks for taking the time to do the podcast. Really, really appreciate it. Head over to YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Anchor for audio versions of the show. This has been our look back episode with Richie Baker, Shell's icon and League of Ireland legend. Appreciate it, Richie. Thanks a million, Paul.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, bud.